So there's very high chances that we're not done with big updates for No Man's Sky this year. 2021, as I've said, is gonna be a big year for updates, and so far it went way better than ever. Like, even compared to some of the previous years, Hello Games has put out updates at a much faster rate. But I still think that we have one update left for the end of this year, a likely update 4.0 that a lot of people are actually anticipating, and I think a lot of the players will be surprised by what Hello Games has in store. We do have a few clues for that, both coming from the company as well as some other sources, including recent data mines about a lot of changes happening behind the scenes. As always, a thumbs up on this video would be super awesome, and let's jump right into it. Now, Hello Games definitely seems to have increased its update schedule compared to some of the previous years. As I've said, almost every 8 weeks in 2021 meant the release of a brand new significant update. At the start of 2021, we got the Companions update, followed by the Expeditions, of which we got 3 in total up until today, followed by the Prisms update, and most recently Frontiers. And yeah, Hello Games definitely doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon, as recently they've been putting out a statement confirming that they're still continuing to work on new features and new content, but we'll share more info on that when they are ready. Out of all of these updates, Hello Games definitely seems to be most excited about Frontiers, the one that we got recently, not for the stuff that we already got through it, but for what it allows them to do in the future. And this statement right here got me really curious, because they never put something like this before. Like, they usually tease up new tech, but they never talk about it specifically. Well, we will talk a bit of that as well, because apparently Hello Games is working closely with AMD to implement their recent Fidelity Effects Super Resolution technology in No Man's Sky. And if you look on the Fidelity Effects website, you will see that both Hello Games as well as No Man's Sky are listed by name on the list of supported games upcoming. So that's actually quite a big one. Now, if you don't know what Fidelity Effects Super Resolution is, or short for FSR, it's basically AMD's answer to NVIDIA DLSS technology, which you usually only find on newer NVIDIA GPUs. Now, what it does for you basically is that it greatly improves the performance of the game while also maintaining really great visuals. As a matter of fact, in many cases, it even greatly improves the visuals as well, and not just because of the resolution scaling, but also because of the way it's being handled. One of the main advantages compared to DLSS is the fact that you don't need a super new GPU to enable it in the first place. It works on older AMD cards as well, so if you're one of those players with older computers, this will give you a huge benefit as well. On top of that, it also improves the performance of ray tracing in games with this enabled, so I can only wonder if Hello Games will implement this as well. There's a bunch of other really cool graphical enhancements in there that would greatly benefit No Man's Sky while also giving you much better performance in the process. And yes, I know that I keep throwing this back at you guys, like I've been talking about this for years, but I'm still waiting for that water upgrade or update for No Man's Sky. Like, I don't just mean underwater stuff, I literally mean the water and the way it's being rendered in the game. There's a number of data miners that are kinda hinting towards the possibility of water getting upgrades over the years, and I think that this is finally time for Hello Games to do so. It definitely seems to be one of those features that was completely forgotten in the 5 years of this game's existence, and I think it's long overdue for a major revamp. I'm not expecting full Sea of Thieves, even though that's like my dream game right there. If Hello Games can implement something like that, it will literally be my best game of all time simply because of that. But I, at least want to see better water, better generation, better physics, maybe even flowing rivers like we did with that idea for a while at some point, and a lot of you guys seem to favor that positively. So I would really like to see your comments down below. What is your opinion or idea of a perfect water upgrade? In the meantime, let's talk about the data mines, which have been quite plentiful following the Frontiers update. And one modder over on Reddit notes that over 100,000 files have been changed with the Frontiers update, which technically means it's bigger than even 2018's next update that had less files being affected than that. And that's already super promising, because the next update was actually a huge stepping stone for Hello Games and for the game as a whole, as they literally changed the way we play contemplated back then, and still nowadays, like much of the planetary generation has changed back then, and of course all upgrades along the way only added on top, but also like the third-person cameras and like the character models that we got along the way were a huge benefit as well. Nonetheless, looks really promising, but many of these changes seem to relate to the placement of flora, assets and buildings on planets. It definitely seems that Hello Games is playing, or at least setting up the groundwork for what seems to be a revamped planetary generation system. Now, I'm not fully expecting, like, for example, planets with multiple biomes that's been suggested over and over again, even though that does sound like a dream, but I would be expecting, for example, planets with better and more diverse assets that would be a little bit more on Hello Games' alley, and they might want to implement at some point. Like, for example, more dense forest areas and greater diversity when it comes to landforms, which, yeah, have been suffering quite a bit lately, in the sense that you're not really seeing planets with like really nice diverse landforms as it was the case way back, even compared to 2018, maybe even like closer to 2016 and 17. Like, you never seem to encounter a planet with a huge mountain, for example, followed by a great valley and then flat plains. It's always kind of like repeating a simple pattern. If you find a planet with huge mountains, it's literally going to be filled with huge mountains, like over and over again, repeating themselves. Or the same goes with if there's valleys, it's gonna constantly be a bunch of valleys and canyons if a planet like just spawns like that. So it would be really awesome if they found a way to make this a bit more diverse and include multiple types of landforms on the same planet. There's also a pretty strong chance that Hello Games might be playing with completely new biome types, or at the very least making changes and revamps to existing ones. This would definitely not be the first or only update to do something like this. We had the Visions update back in 2018, we also had the Origins update last year in 2020, and there's been other smaller or incremental changes that have been made along the years that did add to the planetary prog-gen. On a final note, the only question remaining is what's Hello Games going to implement on top of this, because usually big updates don't introduce only one single feature, but usually an amalgamation of features that kind of work together. And there's also like these couple of features that were data mined a couple of years ago that we never got to see again, which are the multi-tool and the ship customization. Now, these were, by the way, data mined a long while ago, and unfortunately I can't seem to find the original videos anymore. I'm not sure if they were taken down from YouTube or I'm just not able to find them because of the algorithm, but I did find them in an older video where I did include them a couple of years ago. And the thing about this is that certain aspects of these features were already implemented in the game in the meantime. Specifically, if you take a look at the freighter customization, you can see that the same color picker was kinda added there, including of course like the decals and whatnot. The same goes for the exocrafts, which also borrow the same system, but the only ones missing are the multi-tools and the ships. And now the only question that remains is Hello Games ever going to do the same for these two? Now, there's kind of like strong indications that they might not in the end, simply because they have chosen a different approach with these, which comes in the form of these skins and other ways to customize them. One of these examples is the golden vector skin that's super unique in the game, and you can't even get it now because it was at the end of expedition number 1 that you could get it as a reward. Also Normandy, even though that's for your frigates, it could totally be something like that. They could import a really cool or make a cool collaboration with another big company and bring a cool ship model in the game that would be specific to one of these expeditions. And I can totally see Hello Games, you know, going forward with this route, because it would also boost sales, or at least boost player retention a lot more, because now you're kind of forced to do these expeditions seasonally and then get the reward at the end of them, however long those might be. Of course, not all of them seem to be tied to expeditions, like for example some of the bobbleheads and the ship trails seem to be acquired outside of that, maybe relating to different events that Hello Games might be adding along the way for existing save files. All in all, I think that eventually Hello Games will implement these, but not in the way we're all expecting, and they might add their own twist to it, like it was always the case, and in this case, those expeditions made the most sense for me. Totally let me know down below what's your opinion on that as well. As always, a thumbs up on the video would be super helpful, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.